There's this quote I've always loved that says, architecture is frozen music.
Right, I know the one.
But when you start to look at the history of a place like Iran, it feels less like a single song and, well, more like this massive, incredibly complex symphony that's been playing for, what, 2,500 years?
That is a very evocative image, and it's also very accurate. I mean, you're dealing with a civilization that didn't just build things to live in.
No?
They built things to make statements. Political statements, religious statements, and in some cases, statements of pure engineering survival.
Exactly. And that is what we are unpacking today. We have this fascinating breakdown of Iran's essential heritage sites.
Yeah.
It's a curated list of 5 spots. But what really struck me is that this isn't just a travel itinerary. It's not, 5 places to take a selfie.
No, absolutely not. If you follow the progression of these sites, Pasargadae, Persepolis, Naqsh-e-Jahan Square, Yazd, and Golestan Palace, you are essentially looking at the geological strata of Iranian history.
Strata. That's a great word for it.
Yeah. Each one represents a completely different philosophy of what it meant to be Persian or Iranian at that specific moment in time.
It's like reading a history book, but the pages are made of stone and mud brick. So let's dive right into the first chapter. We're going way, way back to the Genesis point, Pasargadae.
Pasargadae is where the story of the Persian Empire really begins. This was the capital of Cyrus the Great in the 6th century BCE. And if you go there expecting these towering, intimidating walls, you might actually be surprised. It's remarkably open.
That's the vibe I got from the descriptions.
Yeah.
It's described as a garden capital.
And that is the key innovation here. Cyrus didn't build a fortress, he built a park. This is one of the earliest examples of the Chahar Ba, the fourfold garden design. And that design eventually influenced everything from the Taj Mahal all the way to the gardens of Spain. It was a series of palaces just scattered throughout a lush, irrigated landscape.
Which is, that's a huge flex when you're building in a really arid region. It says, I control the water, I control the land.
It does.
But tell me about the tomb, because you see pictures of Cyrus's tomb and it looks humble. It's just this simple gabled stone structure on a plinth.
It is humble, and that's the genius of it. Here's a man who ruled the largest empire the world had ever seen up to that point, yet his final resting place is so unadorned, it reflects a kind of multicultural respect. The architecture is actually a fusion.
A fusion of what?
You see Lydian stonemasonry techniques, Ionian influences, Mesopotamian ziggurat styles. It's all blended together.
So the building itself is actually proof of his political strategy.
Precisely. Cyrus was known for integrating the cultures he conquered, not erasing them. His tomb is a physical manifestation of that tolerance. It's a cosmopolitan structure for a cosmopolitan king. It whispers power rather than shouting it.
Okay, so if Pasargadae whispers, then the next site on our list, Persepolis, is screaming through a megaphone.
Oh, absolutely. Persepolis is the shout. This is the ceremonial capital founded by Darius the Great, just a generation or so later. By this time, the Achaemenid Empire is fully established, it's wealthy beyond imagination, and they really, really want you to know it.
The scale here seems completely different. We aren't talking about gardens anymore. We're talking about massive stone platforms and columns that just soar into the sky.
We're talking about the Gate of All Nations. Just think about that name for a second.
It sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie.
It was the ancient equivalent. You would walk through these colossal gates flanked by massive winged bulls llamas, which were specifically designed to make you feel very, very small.
Right.
But here's the nuance that people sometimes miss. Persepolis wasn't a fortress, it was a stage. It was built for the celebration of Nowruz, the Persian New Year.
So it's a party venue, a huge one.
A diplomatic party venue, let's say.
Yeah.
If you look at the Apollonius staircase, one of the most famous pieces of art in the ancient world, you see these bas-relief carvings of people from 23 different subject nations, all bringing gifts.
And I've seen these images. They aren't in chains or anything, right? They aren't being dragged.
That is the critical distinction. In Assyrian art from, around the same period, you see captives being beheaded or flayed.
Wow.
In Persepolis, the subject nations are holding hands with their Persian ushers. They are bringing honey, textiles, animals. It's propaganda, sure, but it's propaganda about order and cohesion, not just brute force. It says, the empire is vast and everyone has a place in it.
Until, of course, a certain Alexander the Great showed up.
Well, yes. That is a tragic layer. Alexander burned it to the ground in 330 BCE. Some say it was an accident. Others say it was revenge for the Persians burning Athens.
So we don't know for sure.
We don't. But ironically, the fire baked the clay tablets in the archives, preserving them for archaeologists thousands of years later. So the destruction actually saved the history.
It's a wild twist of fate. Okay, so we have the humble beginning at Pasargadae, the imperial peak at Persepolis, and then we fast forward a lot.
We are jumping over 1,000 years, skipping the Parthians and Sasanians and landing squarely in the 17th century, the Islamic Golden Age.
We are landing in Isfahan, specifically Naqsh-e-Jahan Square.
Exactly.
And the name translates to image of the world, right?
Yes. And that isn't an exaggeration. When Shah Abbas I decided to move the capital to Isfahan, he wanted to create a new center of the universe. This square is one of the largest in the world, over 500 meters long.
Wow.
But unlike Persepolis, which was for the elites, Naqsh-e-Jahan was the beating heart of the city.
It feels like a masterclass in urban planning. You look at the layout, and it seems like you have everything a society needs right there in one rectangle.
It's a perfect diagram of the Safavid power structure. On one side, you have the Shah Mosque, representing religious power.
Right.
On the opposite side, the Grand Bazaar, representing economic power. Then you have the Ali Kapu Palace, representing the Shah's political power, and they are all facing this massive open space.
Which is used for what? Markets.
Markets, executions, and even sports. Polo, in fact. The stone goalposts are still standing at either end of the square. The Shah would sit on the balcony of the Ali Kapu Palace, sipping wine and watching his cavalry play polo in the square below.
That is such a vivid image. It's interesting, though, comparing this to Persepolis. Persepolis was stone, heavy, imposing. The photos of the architecture in Isfahan, especially the mosques, it all feels lighter. It's all about color.
That's the grand Islamic layer the source talks about. This is the era of the 7-color tiles. The Shah Mosque isn't just a building, it's a kaleidoscope of teal, deep blue, yellow, and white. It dissolves the weight of the walls. It's designed to feel transcendent, like you're looking into the heavens.
So we've gone from stone columns of the ancients to the tiled domes of the Safavids. But now I want to pivot to something that feels completely different. We're leaving the centers of political power and going to the desert, the city of Yazd.
Yazd is unique. It wasn't a capital. It didn't have a Shah trying to show off.
Oh.
Yazd is all about human ingenuity fighting against a hostile environment. This is the layer of desert architecture.
And this is where we get into the wind catchers, the badgers. I've always been fascinated by these.
Ah, yes.
We talk about green energy and passive cooling today, like it's some new invention, but these people were doing it centuries ago.
Long before electricity. And the physics of it is just brilliant in its simplicity. You've seen the pictures of these tall, chimney-like towers rising from the rooftops.
Right, they look like slotted towers.
So they catch the cleaner, cooler breeze that blows higher up above the dusty street level. They funnel that air down a shaft into the house. But here's the magic part. Often, that air is directed over a small pool of water, or even connected to a qanat.
An underground water channel.
An underground water channel, exactly.
Yeah.
So the hot, dry air hits the water.
Evaporation happens.
Evaporation happens, the heat is absorbed, the air cools down, becomes more humid, and then it circulates through the house. The warm, stale air is then pushed out the opposite side of the tower because of pressure differentials. It is literally zero-energy air conditioning.
That is incredible. And it's not just the wind catchers, right? The whole city looks like it sort of grew out of the earth.
It literally did. It's built from adobe mud brick, which is the perfect material for the desert because it has high thermal mass. It absorbs the sun's heat during the day, keeping the inside cool.
And then releases it at night.
And then releases that heat at night when the desert gets freezing. The entire city is a machine for living comfortably in a place where you really shouldn't be able to.
It feels so much more intimate than the palaces. It's about the community surviving together. The alleyways are super narrow and high-walled to create shade, right?
Exactly. They're called kuchas. If you walk through Yazd, you are constantly in shadow. It's a maze designed to break the desert wind and block the sun. Just a stark contrast to the open grandeur of Naqsh-e-Jahan Square.
So we have ancient empires, the Islamic Golden Age, the desert survivalists. Now, for our final stop, we fast forward again. We're coming closer to the modern era, the 19th century. We are in Tehran at the Golestan Palace.
And this is where the aesthetic shifts violently again. We are now in the Qajar era.
The source calls this Qajar era splendor. And looking at the visuals, splendor feels like an understatement.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's very shiny.
Shiny is the perfect word. If Isfahan was about blue tiles and transcendence, Golestan is about mirrors and worldly reflection. This is the era when the Persian Shahs started traveling to Europe.
Ah, so we're seeing a collision of styles here.
A massive collision. The Qajar kings, particularly Nasir al-Din Shah, went to Paris, London, St. Petersburg. They saw the opulence of European palaces and basically said, I want that, but I want it to be Persian.
So what does that look like?
Well, you get these incredible halls like the Hall of Mirrors, where the walls and ceilings are covered in millions of tiny geometric mirror fragments.
It was almost psychedelic.
It creates a diamond-like effect. But if you look closely at the details, you'll see traditional Persian tile work right next to Victorian-style floral paintings. You'll see postcards from France embedded in the stucco. It's this fascinating eclectic mix that represents Iran entering the modern global stage.
It seems like a shift in focus. Persepolis was about, we are the center of the world. Golestan feels more like, we are part of a wider world, and we can compete in luxury.
That's a very fair assessment. It's also the shift of the capital to Tehran, which is in the foothills of the Alborz Mountains. It's a different geography, different climate, a different political reality. The Qajars were trying to hold on to power in a rapidly modernizing world, and they use this dazzling architecture to project authority.
It's amazing when you line them all up. You start with the simple stone tomb of Cyrus, go to the massive columns of Persepolis, the blue-tiled domes of Isfahan, the mud-brick wind catchers of Yazd, and then finally the mirrored halls of Tehran.
It really challenges the idea of a monolithic Iranian culture. People often think of it as one single thing. But these sites show us that the identity is fluid. It adapts.
Adaptation seems to be the key word here, whether it's adapting to the desert heat in Yazd or adapting to European influence in the Qajar era.
And that's why lists like this are so important. The source material isn't just giving us a checklist, it's giving us a timeline of values. At one point, the highest value was tolerance and multiculturalism. That's Pasargadae.
Right.
Then it was imperial order Persepolis. Then religious and civic harmony with Isfahan. Then ingenuity in Yazd. And finally, modernization and diplomacy with Golestan.
I think that's what makes the Windcatcher entry so special to me, even among all the palaces. It's one that feels the most timeless. Empires rise and fall, kings die, but the heat of the desert is forever. You have to solve that problem every single day.
That's a profound observation. The palaces are events in history, but Yazd is a process. It's a living solution. In fact, modern architects are studying Yazd right now to figure out how to cool cities in a warming world without using electricity.
No way!
So that ancient layer might actually be the most futuristic one of all.
Which brings us full circle. We started by saying buildings are time machines. Usually we think they take us back to the past. But in the case of Yazd, maybe it's taking us to the future.
I wouldn't be surprised. History has a funny way of recycling the best ideas.
So for everyone listening, next time you see a picture of a ruin or a palace, don't just look at the pretty shapes. Ask yourself, what problem were they trying to solve? Was it heat? Was it political legitimacy? Was it spiritual connection?
Well, because the answer is written right there in the structure. You just have to know the language.
We've covered a lot of ground and a lot of centuries today, from the gardens of Cyrus to the mirrors of Tehran. It's a reminder that heritage isn't static. It's layers upon layers of people trying to make their mark on the earth.
And luckily for us, those marks are durable enough to stick around.
Here's a final thought to leave you with. We've talked about how different these 5 sites are. I mean, totally different styles, materials, purposes. But there is a hidden thread connecting them all.
Oh, and what's that?
Every single one of these sites, whether it was built by a king of kings or a local mason, is obsessed with the concept of paradise. The word paradise actually comes from the old Persian word paradida.
Which means a walled garden.
A walled garden, like the one at Pasargadae.
You're absolutely right. The garden in Pasargadae, the orderly world of Persepolis, the celestial square in Isfahan, the cool oasis of a Yazd home, and the glittering luxury of Golestan. They are all different attempts to create a version of heaven on earth.
Different visions, same human desire. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us. Go look up those wind catchers. Seriously.
They are definitely worth the research. Goodbye, everyone.
Catch you next time.